Hello, Lakers fans. This is Wilson. So I wanted to check in with you guys again, just to talk about this story that came out from ESPN, written by uh, Ramona Shelburne and Brian Windhorst, and it talks about obviously LeBron after LeBron opted into his player option, that threatening statement that Rich gave. Basically, it almost made it sound like Lakers were about that LeBron was about to request a trade after opting in, right? And so basically, Ramon and Windhurst, he wrote this story where they kind of detailed where that energy came from. As I said on this podcast, it felt different, like more threatening than any than the other years. The other years where LeBron, I mean, they never came out and released it. They would always be more like a little bit more passive aggressive kind of, maybe like last year, Rich came out, made a statement, or said some things to the media, I should say. But this was like a statement, and it was aggressive, kind of. It wasn't as passive aggressive, more on the aggressive side. And um, I it at first, of course, they always, they do it every year through the lens of trying to make sure that the Lakers um, trying to make sure that the Lakers are, not being complacent, and that was what the statement said, that they're making sure that they're monitoring the roster. LeBron wants to win another championship. And so, um, in this piece, right, by Windhurst and Ramona, they talk about it. It says, James understood the Lakers taking advantage of an opportunity to pivot to the younger superstar. But from James's perspective, sources said, nuance was sometimes lost during the transition. Doncic had never asked to be a Laker. James, for his part, had chosen LA, coming in 2018 when the team had missed the playoffs 5 consecutive seasons, the worst run for the franchise since it moved from Minneapolis. 2 years later, James had helped deliver a 17th championship. And then there's some other stuff in here. Some other, they called it. It says, since the Doncic trade February 1st, the Lakers have signaled this shift from James to Doncic through a series of microaggressions. They did not give him significant notice that they were trading Davis for Doncic. Talking about Anthony Davis, of course. A transgression James forgave, sources said, because of his respect for Doncic and understanding of the franchise's reasoning for making the trade and for keeping it under wraps for as long as possible. Within days of acquiring Doncic, Pelinka attempted to pair him with Mark Williams, an athletic young center. Davis and James had for years been asking the franchise to require a true center, to no avail. When the Buss family agreed to sell a majority stake in the franchise to Mark Walter on June 18, Doncic was given a heads up and notably posted congratulations on social media afterward. James was not given the same notice and did not post any public acknowledgement afterward. Then, of course, the coup de grace, the Lakers, by not offering James an extension, indicated they were comfortable having him on the roster as an expiring contract, a rare position for a superstar player of his caliber. Now, the see, and I understand. Part of me understands where LeBron is coming from, because what it feels like is, uh, this is kind of, it feels like when Shaq, right, when the Lakers made it clear in the summer of 2004 that it was going to be Kobe's team moving forward. That was their priority. First. I always remember the day um, when all this was happening in 2004, and there was a headline in the LA Times that said, uh, "Bryant opts out, Jackson is out, O'Neal wants out." Right? Because they had already let Phil go. Shaq saw that, and Shaq said that He said that that run that they had been built by on all three guys, right? And now they were moving and putting all the eggs in one basket and making it seem like it was just about one person. So once they let Phil go, then Shaq requested the trade, right? And in a certain sense, I think that's kind of like how LeBron feels. LeBron feels like, well, I've been here and I'm LeBron, and I did kind of save the Lakers from, Lakers have been mediocre in the 5 years since, even the last few Kobe years, right? 14, 15, and 16, those teams were terrible. And then in 17 and 18, they still weren't, they were slowly getting better under Luke, but they won 35 games in the year before LeBron got here. And then LeBron comes here 2 years later, they won a title, right? And he's LeBron James. And he came here and he wanted to come here and all those things, right? So I understand why LeBron would feel like, okay, you guys could show me a little bit of respect here, right? But on the flip side of that, right, on the other side of that, is the fact that, okay, bro, here's the thing: he's not a 30. Number one, he's not a 32-year-old Shaquille O'Neal who still had a couple years of championship ball left in him, right? Now, LeBron, at this point in his career, at 40 years old, right, with the way that he's preserved his body and spends $1 million on his body each year, and at his age, still a top, 15 or so player, right? Closer to top 10, if not top 10. Um, and he's still someone who I wouldn't say that he's that Shaq that summer at 32. The next year Shaq finished second in MVP voting, and the year after that, 2006, they won the title. But it was D Wade's team, right? I'd say LeBron hit the point in his career of that 2006 Shaq, who was D Wade's sidekick. Right now, the way the game is today, the way that they play with the it's just an up and down game of cardio and shooting. There's no physical contact. There's none of that, right? So yeah, I mean, it makes it easy for somebody like LeBron to be 40 years old. It's a run and jump league and shoot. So it's a lot easier for somebody to play well and play now. He's 40 years old. He's still an All NBA player. But I would say that to win the championship, he would need to accept a lesser role in the way that Shaq did in 2006. He needs to, and there's nothing wrong with that. Um, and so, but I mean, 40 years old, he's going into year 23, right? Uh, and his Lakers tenure has been up and down, right? I know the Lakers appreciate what he's done, but I mean, and he always talks about hope. I wish that they would improve the roster, but it's like the team that they had before the Luka trade was a team that when LeBron was in his prime, I mean that's a championship team. But because LeBron is is old LeBron now, though he's still a very good player, that's why that team was the team that would get swept by Denver, right? It's not like they haven't put a team around; they have put a team around it. If you have Anthony Davis and LeBron James, that was a team that was good enough to win a title in 2020, right? And then LeBron, he was 35 then, and the injuries started kicking in. He'd already got injured in 2019. But they stayed healthy in 2020 and they won it. And then there were some, problems with the roster and some of the moves that Rob made. But part of that was to compensate for the fact that LeBron was getting older. You have to try different stuff. You have to try to stack the team as well as much as you can to make up for the fact that LeBron is getting older. And I think that LeBron needs to be honest about that. And I think that, yeah, what he's done is great, but it's not like he did what Magic did or what uh, um, Kareem, Shaq, Kobe, they haven't had that type of run here since he's been here. So they did get that one championship in the bubble. Um, and he just needs to be realistic, right? He's 40 years old. He's going to, nobody has played 23 seasons in the NBA. He's about to get there. And at a certain point, you have to realize, bro, it's not about you anymore, right? Like Michael Jordan, when Michael Jordan came back with the Wizards at 38 and played, those 2 seasons, retired at 40, he didn't come in there going, okay, well, I mean, that's one of the things that Jordan doesn't get enough credit for is that when he was, in his prime, Jordan was Jordan was relatively drama free. I mean, outside of, they say that he got Doug Collins fired, but outside of that, Jordan didn't really go to the front office and ask Jerry Krause and Jerry Reinsdorf to do anything. He didn't ask them to, sure didn't ask them to make any type of particular personnel decisions. I think he vetoed when the Bulls wanted to trade Scottie Pippen for T-Mac, he vetoed that, and maybe one other team. So outside of that, Jordan just showed up, played ball with what he had, and won 6 championships doing that. Those Bulls teams, as I've always said, bro, I like those Bulls teams on paper where their best team was probably, 90, like 90, the 97 team that had Bison Day was probably the most talented team, right? Now they were great, but especially the first 3P teams, I mean, a lot. If you look at some of those teams, bro, look at the teams that beat in the finals. It's not like the Bulls were like that much more talented, right? But they had Michael Jordan, and they had Scottie Pippen, they had Phil Jackson, right? So um, Jordan was relatively drama free in that regard, and when he came back at 40 years old, no matter what he said, did he probably think he could still win a championship? Yeah. But once it wasn't obvious, he didn't try to force it. He really came back because it was for the love of the game. He retired because there was a lockout. But the game was still in his system. So he came back. He played those last 2 years. He could have gone anywhere if he wanted to, try to win another championship or something like that. He was doing it for the love of the game, right? And LeBron has to realize at this point in his career, I mean, come on, man. And I think that this report it just goes to show that it's not really his displeasure is not really about him trying to make sure he win on the championship. It's about it because they've transitioned to Luka as the focus, and he doesn't know what to do. He doesn't like it. He still wants it to be about him. And at some point, you have to accept it's not about you. Like Kareem was, by the time Kareem was 40 years old, Kareem was, you know, he he accepted a tertiary role. You know, he just played his part. He played the background. So LeBron needs to learn from people like Kareem, people like Jordan. When we get to that point in your career, if he was the same Bron somehow at 40 years old that he was in Cleveland and Miami, that'd be different. But he's not that same Brown, and it doesn't matter what the numbers say. The fact that they've lost in the first round the last 2 years, the fact that they got swept 2 years ago, it is what it is, man. So, and like I said, the fact they drafted his son, that still wasn't enough. He's coming back right back the next year, and it's like, bro, you've had your time, I hate to say it, but bro, you've had your time, man. You've been here for 7 years. You got one championship in the bubble, and that was it. You've had your time, LeBron. Just fade off into the sunset. Don't become that athlete who stays around, sticks around too long, and becomes annoying, and overstays his welcome, and ends up a little bit tarnishing his legacy. Don't do that. Right off into the sunset, man. I want to transition here because I talked a little bit about sinners at the end of last week's episode, and but I didn't get deep enough into it because I ran out of time. But I wanted to talk about it some more and talk about some of the symbolism in there. I've noticed that it seems that a lot of white people do not. It's like they kind of don't. They don't really like they don't. They didn't really get the movie. I think they went into it expecting like an actual vampire movie, like Dracula or something. And that's not what this. That's not what this is. That's not what it was intended to be, right? Uh, the vampires, you have to understand that the vampires are symbolic. They're a metaphor, right? Meaning, um, the vamp. If you think about the movie, and you have some people saying, well, they understand like how the stories merged together and like why it took so long to get the vampire part because the vampire stuff doesn't really kick off until like the second half of the movie, and the action is like in the last third of the movie, right? But the reason that is because it's not really about vampires, right? The vampires represent the reason that the vampires in the movie the initially who show up at the party, uh, and these are spoiler alerts, I guess, at this point. The vampires they represent like white uh, colonizers or that type of deal. You got these black people that at this place to smoke and stack. They come in and they go, so we want to open this juke joint in Clarksville, Mississippi, 1932, the prime of Jim Crow, the Jim Crow South. And they come in there, they open it up, and the blacks are in there having this, this is like the greatest night of their life, right? There's no white people except for that Haley Stanfield, who's white passing. She's biracial, right? And Sammy's in there. He's playing the music, the blues, and this summons these vampires to the party, and that's the part of it that's meant as somebody on social media who replied to a post I made. They helped me realize this. The appropriating that blues music. And if you think about it, well, who's famous for appropriating black music? Elvis Presley, right? Like Eminem said, uh, I am the first person since Elvis Presley to use black music so officially and use it to make myself wealthy, right? And that's no disrespect to Elvis because he's Elvis, but Elvis' influences, Elvis' style, it comes from black people, right? I don't think this is a secret. I think if you watch the Elvis movie, you see that. And so there's that part of it, and then it starts with Haley Steinfeld. Like I said, she's biracial, and she's biracial, but she's white passing. I think in real life, Haley Steinfeld is just white, right? And she gets in there because she knows she knows Stack and Smoke and everybody in there, and she's in there. And the vampires show up. They turn the vampires back, and then Haley goes, "Well, maybe we could really use their money. Let me go out there and see." She insists on it. So she goes out there. She gets turned, and I think that was symbolic. Somebody said she's just like a Kardashian, basically. But I felt like that was symbolic. That it was the first person who kind of started the trouble was the white passing biracial woman in the movie. Then she comes back. She turns Stack. Omar Miller, cornbread. He goes out there to take a leak. He gets turned. Then he comes back. He turns somebody else. So now you got black on black crime, right? And the white person is to blame. Now you gotta understand that I don't agree with all these points and perpetuating them, but I think it was so well executed. Is the thing, and I have to give Ryan Coogler credit for that, uh, and just in general, uh, You know, I think you know they ruined the vampires, ruined the best day that the blacks in Clarksdale um, had ever had. That's the broader. If you don't understand anything else, you can understand that. And then the other stuff, like I said, the appropriation of the music. Once again, I'm a conservative, so I really don't like talking about this type of stuff or perpetuating it. Yeah, I think it's like it lends itself to victimhood in black race, which I hate. But I think that was the point that Coogler was trying to make. But he does it so subtly and executes it so well that it's one of those things where you kind of have to you kind of have to think about it. I'm not even sure if I had realized it uh, the first time that that I when I spoke about the movie last week. Uh, but you know, as time goes on, and as I talked to a couple other people online, it's helped me and rewatch the movie. You know, you just notice different things, and you can try to make your own interpretation of what Coogler was trying to say in this film. And yeah, I just think I like the different layers to it and the complexity to it. If I were Roger Ebert, if I had to give it, a rating based on his four-star system, I'd give it 3.5. The only reason I wouldn't give it four is because I didn't like that. So after the at the end of near the end of the movie, at the end of the last act of the movie, when this is when basically after the fight is over between the vampires and the living, the part where Michael B. Jordan he kills the KKK members. Um, I understand that it was necessary as a plot device because you had to know what happened to him, and it sets up the epilogue scene between Sammy and Stack with Mary present. Um, but um, I think if it had gone if they could have found a way to go right from the part where where Sammy and uh, with uh, Smoke's help, um, they eliminate the vampires, right? And it jumps right to that part, to the epilogue. I would have given it 4 stars, but um, instead I can only give it 3.5. I feel like that part, uh, nothing wrong with it, but I don't know. I just think if they had left that part out or found a way to a way to make it briefer, you know, or another way to do it, I would have given it 4 stars. But instead, I gave it 3.5. It's still just a fantastic movie that I think will get many. I think it'll be nominated for Best Director, Best Original Screenplay, both for Coogler, Best Actor for Michael B. Jordan. I think Haley Steinfeld will get nominated for sure for Best either actress or supporting actress, however whatever they deem her her to be. And then I think for Best Supporting Actor, you got Delroy Lindo, you got Jack O'Connell who played Remick, you got Miles Caden who played Sammy. I would say Sammy obviously he had out of those guys he had the most prominent role, so he'd probably be the if only one can get a nomination, it'd be him. And also Omar Miller did a great job too. So I mean, everybody in the movie. I mean, the people who played the Asian couple, they were great. The lady who played Mary, who I think is a Nigerian actress, she did great. I mean, just great performances, great casting, all the way around. So, yeah, like I said, man, I just wanted to say that to follow up on what I was saying at the end of of last week's episode. You know? Before I get out of here, just a reminder to hit that subscribe button next to the Complete Podcast Network and to follow the show on Twitter and Instagram at TC Pod Network. You can also send feedback and mailback questions to CompleteLakersPodcast@gmail.com. I am out.